Hi, I'm Bernice. I was born July 4th, 1925, in Waterloo, Ontario, 117 Alexandra Avenue. And my mother had a midwife named Mamie Short, and she delivered me. I come from a small family, just my mother and my father. And I have an older sister, Dorothy. She's 4 years older than I am. So there's just the four of us in our family. When I was very young, we lived in Waterloo on 117 Alexandra Avenue, and there weren't many kids around the neighborhood. When I was going to school, we had a whole mile to go to school. My uncle had a grocery store, and of course they had a car, so if it rained, he would drive us to school and pick us up afterwards too. Other than that, we just had to walk every day. Back in those days, my father worked at J.M. Snyder's in the packing department, and of course he rode a bicycle. We didn't have a car, so he had to ride a bicycle every day to work and back, and it was always late at night when he came home. And Mum was at home and just doing the regular laundry and housekeeping, and my sister and I guess, helped a little bit. My dad bought the butcher shop out in New Hamburg. Mr. Hartman had passed away, so Mrs. Hartman was still living in the house, and we moved into a big house back on Jacob Street. When you went in the front door at the butcher shop, the counter was along the side, and Dad had the sawdust on the floor and the two butcher blocks where he cut his meat, and going straight from the front door to the back up a few steps, and that was the office where I did the bookkeeping for him. And sometimes when he needed me, I would take the bicycle and make a few deliveries. Well, we moved out to New Hamburg, and of course then I had to go to school. And it was in school I met my husband. We were in the same class, and quite often in the evening we'd go to a movie theater, and Hayesville had dances about once a month. We became engaged, and unfortunately the war came along and he had to go to the service. My husband John was a bomber pilot, and he flew missions overseas, and he taught flying over there too. So when he came back, he had never driven. He was so young when he went away. When he came back, he had never driven a car, and he had to get a learner's license, so I had to teach him how to drive. When John and I set the date for our wedding, I got in touch with Lou Betker, my friend and dressmaker, and the two of us, we designed my dress out of white slipper satin with the peplum and a train, and the veil also had a train extending beyond the dress. And when I got to church and walked up the aisle and John was in his new suit, he was quite shocked and surprised when he saw me in this beautiful dress. After the ceremony was over, we were just so thankful that it was all over with and everything went well. And we just marched down the aisle and out the front door into the car and headed for the old homestead for our reception. After we went up for the reception, we had about 100 people there, and we had a very nice feast, and everybody enjoyed themselves. And after we cut the cake, John and I had our first dance as a married couple. After we got married, we moved to 90 Krug Street in Kitchener. Mrs. Steebing was our landlady, and I was working at the Bank of Commerce in Kitchener at the corner of King and Queen. And John was working for Joe Ridle and Company doing painting. Barry was born in 1949, and he was a preemie. He was only 4 pounds 3/4 of an ounce. I thought it was 4 3/4 pounds, but it wasn't. And he was 16 inches long. In 1951, shortly after Sharon was born, we took advantage of getting, through the Veterans Land Act, to get 2 acres of land out of Waterloo and making plans to build our own home. When we finally decided on the design of our house, after looking through many different magazines and things, with the help of our friends, we built the house ourselves, and I can even remember being up on the roof, hammering nails in the shingles when I was 5 months pregnant with Dennis. Dennis was born in 1954, and shortly that we moved into the house, so he was the lucky one. We had We could put his crib right in front, or his chair right in front of the fireplace, and keep him nice and cozy and warm. Our new house, we were proud of it. We put a lot of work into it, and so we had a big garden out the back, and we had neighbors on each side, and we'd go picnics together, and the kids enjoyed playing with each other. They had their own friends now. It was just enjoyable being there. Barry was old enough, he was going to school now, and it was a one-room schoolhouse up at the corner, and so it wasn't too far to walk for him. And Sharon, I was home with Sharon and Dennis, and of course Sharon helped me look after Dennis and pull weeds outside and work in the garden. Mom and Dad used to come out from New Hamburg, and we'd go on picnics or just go for rides and just enjoy the Sundays with Mom and Dad. Well, every week when Mom and Dad came, Dad always bought us a box of meat for the week, and it was always steaks and things, and Johnny enjoyed barbecuing outside. Even in the middle of winter, he'd be out on the deck barbecuing and steaks. Or in the summer when it was raining, the umbrella was over his head and he was still out, and the neighbors thought he was crazy, but they were jealous, I think, anyway. Johnny was working at the Flying Club practically every day of the week, and so I used to go out there and I would do the books, and the kids came with me, of course, and I said that was the only time he got to see the kids, or they got to see him, because otherwise they'd be in bed when he'd come home at night. When Johnny had a holiday, sometimes we went to Florida with Pat and Mike Roddle. We enjoyed that very much, and Mom and Dad looked after the kids while we were gone. The kids were kind of glad when we got home, because I guess Grandma was kind of strict with them. We moved to Brantford because Johnny was working at the Flying Club. While we were there, our second daughter, Kathy, was born in 1960. Kathy was very popular with all the kids in the neighborhood. They all wanted to take her and carry her and walk around with her and look after her. And Eric Dove next door wanted to put her up in the tree so the kids couldn't reach her, because he thought that she'd never be able to walk. Johnny had joined the Department of Transport, so we were moved to Toronto. We were living there for 2 years. People said we wouldn't like it there, but we were very lucky. We had very nice neighbors in Rexdale. And then after 2 years, he was transferred out to Edmonton, and we hated to leave our neighbors in Toronto, but we have nice ones out in Edmonton as well. After moving to Edmonton, we got in with a group of friends, and we would go down to Whitefish, Montana for skiing, and living close to the mountains. We got out to Jasper as well, and we did more skiing with our friends. During the summers, we got involved with golf, and one of the friends found an old ship. Looked like a pirate ship. It was called the Emilus, and we did our own sailing, and we cruised around the Caribbean for 2 weeks. When my first grandchild was born, Chelsea, Johnny and I were down in Mexico, so when we came back, we bought a cute little Mexican dress for her, and it's still being passed around among the grandchildren. The next 5 grandchildren came in quick succession. It was Alex, and then Jeffrey, and Brenna, Ryan, and Bryant. Johnny called them the mob of ankle biters. Dennis recently married his girlfriend from Thailand, and she had 2 children, so that gave us 2 more grandchildren. I do a lot of traveling with my children and friends, and I can remember went to Thailand twice. I think we danced all night at the full moon party. I was afraid if I was tired, he would follow me with a chair so I could sit down when I was tired. I went to Europe and the Holy Land with Dorothy and some friends. I also went on a Hawaiian cruise with Dorothy, and Darlene was a friend of hers. I went to Australia with Sharon and Chelsea. Saw the kangaroos, and Chelsea did very well in her competition. I also went over to Germany with Kathy. They have a passion play that they put on every 10 years. Last year we went to Kansas. Sharon went with me. They were having a special award ceremony for my brother-in-law, Art, at the University of Kansas for all his work in the neurology department. Since my husband Johnny died in 1991, we've been very close. My family's been very close to me, and we get together occasionally on holidays and things, but I still feel very close to my family. They've been so good to me, and I appreciate everything they're doing for me. Dennis has brought his family now up and the children to move in, and they're living in with me now, and they're looking after me. The pack rat that I am, I have all my stuff there, and I can hang on to it and enjoy it. I've been blessed with a wonderful family, lots of friends, and a long and healthy life, and I look forward to my future great-grandchildren.